Kano Emirate tussle continues as Governor Ganduje gives Emir Sanusi two-day ultimatum over appointments. Damning report on corruption in the country. 22 former governors, 11 serving senators under probe. On the international scene, President Trump's impeachment set up clash with the Senate as Speaker Pelosi holds on to impeachment articles. And in sports, Nigeria maintains 31st position in FIFA ranking.
This is ANN News.
I am Lucy Adeyemi. Kano State Governor Abdullahi Ganduje has upped the ante in the Emirate tussle that has dominated the state politics for some time now. Last week, Ganduje signed into law the creation of new Kano Emirate and appointed Emir Sanusi Lamido II to chair the State Council of Emirs, even in light of the face-off between them over the creation of the new emirate. Sanusi has not accepted the appointment. Now, Governor Ganduje has issued a two-day ultimatum for the emir to accept the appointment. The ultimatum was announced by Ganduje's media aide, Salihu Tanko Yakasai, on Twitter. Nothing was said about what would be the next line of action should the emir miss the ultimatum. Nigeria's Minister of Justice and Attorney General of the Federation, Abubakar Malami, says 22 former governors are currently under investigation for corruption. 3 of those, Joshua Dariye of Plateau, Jolly Inyami of Taraba, and Oji Kalu of Abia, have been convicted. The minister also said 11 serving senators, 2 are on the probe. He said high-profile personalities, including judicial officials and former governors who had been indicted for corruption, have been prosecuted, many of them already serving prison sentences. Malami said the anti-graft war is being fought without sentiment and that no particular persons or groups are being targeted. The minister said the fight against corruption is, quote, total, comprehensive, and dispassionate, devoid of any political or ethnic sentiment or inclination, end quote. Nigeria has millions of youth graduates and hundreds of thousands of other unemployed citizens, and the number keeps growing. Many have been diligent in their job hunting, but they have not succeeded. There have been calls for the government to do something for this class of Nigerians, like giving them a certain monthly allowance. Kelechi.
It's been over 3 years since Mike Arinze graduated from higher institution. But the electrical engineering graduate has yet to secure a job since leaving school. Now he grills and sells fish to eco living. And this is one of the many survival trades he's had to learn over the years.
I must tell you, it wasn't easy. You know, I have to do all kinds of jobs just to keep me going. I have to learn vulcanizer work. I have to learn grilling. I'm a mason like this and I'm talking to you. So I do wiring. So I had to do all meaningful jobs just to keep me going.
There are nearly 16 million youths who suffer the same fate as Mike. Nigeria churns out on average 500,000 graduates yearly. Unemployment rate here in Nigeria maintained an average 23.68% between 2014 and 2018. It hit an all-time high of 38% in the second quarter of 2018 and its lowest in the fourth quarter of 2014 at 11.7%. The statistics currently stands at 23.1%, but without necessary interventions, it's projected to scale up to about 33.5% by next year. And that's why Parliament is calling for a state of emergency on unemployment. In a recent resolution, the Senate urged government to initiate a sustainable unemployment benefit fund for its unemployed population. It's coming at a time the World Bank is forecasting Nigeria's on the verge of yet another recession. More so, the nation is looking to fund its $34.7 billion budget from external borrowing.
I think it's very, very unrealistic. Based on the fact that the economy is crumbling, there are different sectors of the country, of the economy that is yelling for attention. We have to borrow and keep borrowing to fund our budget. It's very unrealistic.
There are also concerns about the disbursement of such funds, as previous social empowerment programs have been marred by corruption.
If you're creating funds like this and schemes like this to help unemployed people, what is going to end up doing to the economy is opening up ways for corrupt politicians to fill in names of people they feel or they say to the government that they are unemployed, and at the end of the day, embezzle money out of the government's coffers. So it's not a good one.
Revamping the nation's moribund industries, creating graduate apprenticeship schemes, and initiating tax incentives for private employers are some of the ways experts suggest could improve Nigeria's worrying unemployment statistics.
Former Deputy Senate President Chief Ike Ikeremadu and a current member of the House of Representatives, Toby Okechukwu, have called on the government to increase the budgetary allocation to the healthcare sector. The two men were speaking during a free medical care program Okechukwu had organized for rural dwellers in Agu local government area of Enugu State. At least 7,000 rural dwellers received various medical care during the 10-day exercise. Senator Ikeremadu commended the annual program. He praised what he called the delivery of quality medical services. Ikeremadu lamented the state of health facilities in some areas. He called attention to what he says is a diminishing level of health care in this sector.
Up next, sports. NFF budgets $193 million for 2020. Please stay with us.
Two former foes, South Sudan President Riek Machar and opposition leader Salva Kiir, have agreed to form a unity government by the February deadline set after failing to meet an earlier November deadline. Patrick Oyet has the details.
South Sudan's government says meetings between President Salva Kiir and opposition leader Riek Machar will continue. President Kiir says they aim to reach an agreement on the issue of number and boundaries of states before the end of the year.
We have agreed that we must form a unity government after the 100 days that we extended in November. If there is any unaccomplished activity by February next year, then that very new government which we will form will perform that task which will have not been completed at the time of forming the government.
South Sudan's current peace deal was signed in 2018. A new government was supposed to be formed in June 2019, but the parties to the peace deal postponed that formation twice now. The new government is now scheduled to be formed in February next year. The reasons for the postponement are lack of progress on security sector reforms and disagreement on the number and boundaries of states. Opposition leader Riek Machar is in Juba for a week now for talks with President Salva Kiir to try and resolve the contentious issues. He says the opposing parties have agreed on how to proceed with security sector reforms.
I am now calling upon the unified police, national security, soldiers and any other organized forces to immediately report to the designated camps for training.
The remaining area of disagreement is on the number and boundaries of administrative units. Early this month, South Africa's deputy president was in Juba mediating on the issue of number and boundaries of states. Prior to allowing the parties to break for consultations, David Mabuza said the conflicting factions were closer than ever to reaching an agreement on the issue of number and boundaries of states. The East African regional body IGAD says it has dispatched a team to invite South Africa's Deputy President David Mabuza to return to Juba this week to try and finalize mediation on the issue of the number and boundaries of states.
Drought has been decimating South Africa's farming for quite some time, but now small-scale farmers are feeling the pinch. Rennie Del Kame reports.
It's the worst drought in over 35 years. While some parts of South Africa are getting good rains, farming areas in the north of the country and across the borders are suffering severe drought conditions.
Southern Africa, there's a massive drought at the moment. It's coming down from as high up as Zambia down through Namibia, Botswana, Zimbabwe, and then in South Africa as well. The western part of South Africa is extremely dry, and the northern part, there's quite a big impact on our exports. The agriculture exports is a big part of our income.
Climate change is causing erratic weather. Drought conditions are intensifying in Zambia, Angola and in Zimbabwe. But in Mozambique, there's been flooding and cyclones. Both weather patterns are a disaster for any agricultural activity.
We have a disaster management center that is also have to come to the party in terms of regional or national droughts. We need capital to help farmers with livestock, and obviously to retain jobs, look at tax breaks, that kind of thing. So it's very important for us to drive that agenda. At the same time, Agri-SA has our own fund where we help farmers in need and farming communities and farm workers across the country. We've lost about 30,000 jobs to date because of the drought.
The UN and other agencies are trying to get food aid to the region, but it might be too late for millions of people.
Food security is of concern. It's a big concern, because South Africa services a lot of the regional countries in Africa with food. So we process a lot of food, we sell them in Zambia and Zimbabwe and Mozambique. So it's actually a regional problem.
Our best opportunity, window of opportunity in this area is to start planting. We're already almost a month later than normal. But it's been the norm the last 3 years. So we start getting used to the shift of, we expect the shift of nature getting later and later every year. And it's impacting very badly on us as the farmers, because there's so many people depending on farming.
The impacts of climate change are being felt more and more each day. Farmers will have to adapt and educate themselves on surviving these extreme weather patterns.
A new report shows Uganda's gorilla population has shot up. Conservationists say this is attributable to better protection policies. Isabel Nakia reports.
Uganda's gorilla numbers are on the right track. Conservation agencies say it's exciting to see gorilla populations soaring. Gorillas are listed as endangered, and a rise in numbers shows conservation efforts in the national park are paying off.
They also need a tropical rainforest on the mountain, and that's the reason why they're only found in that particular unique area. The weather is right and the altitude is right for them to. So Bwindi has been a very important bit of our heritage, and there's been very little encroachment in terms of tree cutting, and that has kept the habitat for the gorillas safe.
Despite a great recovery in the numbers of gorillas in the past decade, primate specialists warn gorillas are still in danger and conservation efforts must go on. Gorilla tracking brings in about $16 million annually. Communities around the park have also benefited from resources in the park. The Wildlife Authority says this has greatly reduced poaching and improved human-wildlife relationships.
We also have livelihood projects where people are given goats as an alternative means of getting meat, because some people are subsistent poachers. They go there to probably look for nutritional value from wildlife. So when you give someone a goat that they can rear and get another goat, probably they will have an alternative to their nutritional values.
The census was funded by the global agency, the Gorilla Conservation Agency. Experts combed the 331 square kilometer forest, counting nests to come up with exact figures. This was the fourth census carried out since Bwindi was made a national park in 1991.
We're also looking at other animals and mammals in the habitats. Sightings, are there cats, are there chimps, are there elephants? We also look at which pockets have poaching signs.
Uganda has 19 groups of gorillas who can come into contact with people. Conservationists are planning to tame other groups so visitors can see even more gorillas up close.
When we return, international news. Potential Pelosi clash with the U.S. Senate as Speaker holds on to impeachment charges. And later, sports. Nigeria retains 31st FIFA ranking. A potential clash is brewing between Speaker of the U.S. House of Representatives Nancy Pelosi and Republican Senate leader Mitch McConnell. The U.S. House impeached President Donald Trump on Wednesday. The Republican Senate, to where action now moves for trial, is supposed to be handed the articles of impeachment, which are the charges against which the president will be tried. But Republicans have said over and over they would not be impartial in the trial and would acquit Trump. So Speaker Pelosi has decided to hold on to the charges as a bargaining chip to secure an agreement on a framework that would ensure a fair trial in the Senate. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell has denounced Pelosi and Democrats in his scathing speech. He said the Democrats' impeachment vote did not reflect what had been proven, but how they feel about President Trump. As a result of the Speaker's move, the timing of the trial could remain unresolved until the new year, when lawmakers return from recess. Police have banned public gatherings in parts of New Delhi and other cities for a third day on Friday, and internet services have been cut off in an effort to stop growing protests that have so far left 8 persons dead and more than 1,200 others detained. The protests have targeted a new citizenship law that opponents say threatens the secular nature of Indian democracy in favor of a Hindu state. Demonstrations are planned around India as opposition to a new law that provides a path to citizenship has quickly expanded from predominantly Muslim universities and communities to a much wider section of the Indian public. Some see the law as a slight against Muslims, while others, including Hindu conservatives in Prime Minister Narendra Modi's own party, fear it will encourage immigration to India, where public services for its more than 1 billion people are already highly strained. Singapore banned electric scooters from footpaths in November after a string of injuries from collisions with pedestrians. Despite steep fines, e-scooters are still present on those tracks. Reporter Miro Liu has the story.
Although hailed as an environmentally friendly solution to last-mile journeys, e-scooters, one type of personal mobility devices, or PMDs as they're being called here in Singapore, caused a headache for local lawmakers after many pedestrians complained about dangerous riding. In November, the Singapore government banned PMDs on all pedestrian footpaths. From next year, a zero-tolerance approach will be taken. These caught flouting the ban will face fines of up to 2,000 Singapore dollars and or imprisonment of up to 3 months.
When PMDs came, suddenly there was this motorized vehicle on the footpath, which I think pedestrians were not prepared for. And therefore, some issues arose, and the main thing was safety. And some of these were being used in reckless manner. They were being modified to bigger size, and they were speeding.
The Active Mobility Panel is made up of different interest groups representing pedestrian, cyclist, and e-scooter communities. The panel recommends actions to the government to improve the safety of pedestrians as well as active mobility device users.
I do not feel that the government is looking at totally eliminating this device. In fact, until today, they are still encouraging it, coming up with the regulations, coming up with ways to try to make this work.
Since banning PMDs from footpaths across the city, the government has stepped up efforts to expand the cycling path from 440 kilometers to 750 kilometers in the next 5 years and triple the cycling network by 2030. They have also created a $50 million fund to improve infrastructure, such as widening footpaths to accommodate both PMDs and pedestrians. On December the 4th, the Singapore government announced that it had accepted all the recommendations by the Active Mobility Advisory Panel, most notably mandating all e-scooter riders must pass a theory test and imposing a minimum age of 16 years old for anyone who wishes to ride an e-scooter, and ordering businesses to provide third-party insurance for people who ride for work. Perhaps the group of PMD users most affected by the overnight ban are food delivery riders who rely on e-scooters for their livelihood. The government and the 3 major food delivery companies have set up a $7 million e-scooter trade-in grant to provide funding assistance. However, for those who still wish to use PMDs to make deliveries, their journey times are being extended and wages are going down.
Since after November the 5th, when they implement the law of pathway ban, it's at least cut about 30 to 40% of my income before the implement, because we have to walk along, we have to dismount and we have to push the bike to the estate.
With errant riders being under stricter control thanks to the new rules, pedestrians should feel safer walking the streets, and e-scooter users might be able to shake off their bad image. This will hopefully pave the way for walkers and riders to coexist peacefully.
Still ahead, sports. Super Eagles are still number 31st in the world. Stay with us. Welcome back. This is ANN News. In sports, Nigeria's Super Eagles have retained their position as the world's 31st best team in FIFA's December ranking. On the global scene, Belgium are the FIFA World Rankings Team of the Year for the second successive time. The Nigerian Port Authority has won the 30th edition of the Federation of Public Service Games, FEPEGA, in Lafia, Nasarawa State. They took away the coveted overall golden trophy after winning 10 gold, 11 silver and 8 bronze medals. They topped the 110 ministries, departments and agencies from across the country that participated in the games. Congratulations to the Port Authority contingent. And that's ANN News this evening. Thank you for joining us. For details on these and other breaking stories, visit our website, annafrica.news. Conversation continues.